Anyway, it's about frogs. I had read this a while back, but I changed it up, and so here it is again. Okay. The title is Absolution, a quote from Dr. Seuss. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Left on the roadside in a rusted bait bucket, filled with cool pond water, 7 tadpoles swirled a happy dance. They were, however, unaware of their impending death. I was 8 and wanted to take the squiggly squirmers home from camp to inhabit my aquarium. Known for collections of things odd and magical, these tadpoles were the perfect proof of my mastery as the neighborhood's proud conqueror of field and stream. But alas, I forgot them. What was their death like in that tarnished tin pail? The water slowly evaporating, the oxygen level dissipating, their little mouths opening and closing, slippery, wet bodies drying out, looking like pieces of chewed gray gum. We were an hour out from leaving Camp Eagle River. I knew my mother would not drive back for them. It was too much to bear. I sat in the back seat of her Thunderbird convertible, wailing, "Stupid tads, who cares? They weren't even real frogs." Moments later, my angry, blotched, and snotty face deflated, leaving a horrifying expression of realization. I wept in misery and shame for leaving them abandoned, doomed, and helpless. For weeks, my imagination flashed pictures of gasping, shriveled little bodies. This is kind of dark. Okay, the fun part's coming. I had inflicted a cruel fate upon the small pollywogs, all for my own pride. I could only pray that some blue heron plucked them from their prison, ending their life in one gulp. How could I have left them behind? I loved them. My hands cradled the little creatures as I adoringly studied their large, awkward heads, my fingers tenderly releasing their wiggly bodies into the can to take home. Thank goodness I had not named them, as that would have made it worse. Years later, in my 40s, a violent flash flood dangerously raised the level of our acre pond. Giant cement culverts doing their job of lowering the water level emptied countless gallons from the small lake. Thousands of tadpoles were sucked from the safety of their watery home and spewed onto a grassy field. Their silver bellies shimmered and twitched in the noon sunlight. I shrieked at my husband and son to get buckets, pans, anything that could scoop these defenseless creatures from a certain death. Hours were spent filling containers with slick pandemonium, racing the contents back to the pond. We barely made a dent. The days to come were hot and steamy. The smell of frog death permeated the air. Maybe I thought this noble act would absolve my sin for murdering those tadpoles at camp, an experience that inspired my aversion to killing any living thing. And now, a lifetime later, there it sat on my dashboard, a small, mummified body of a tiny amphibian, a crinkled raisin with protrusions of the tiniest skeleton. At first, it appeared to be a very large brown spider. My heart pounded, but a closer look unveiled a small, withered specimen of a Carolina tree frog. Its desiccated carcass was captivating. Little toe pads were perceptibly tucked under its chin as if praying, "Dear Creator of all things," small, Please shelter me under the shadow of your wing, for I am a wanderer in a desolate and arid land. I have said a similar prayer in sweltering August heat to no avail. The weightless body, void of any juicy insides, was placed on a lid from a cottage cheese container. I tenderly carried it inside to a shelf filled with other items of curiosity. It deserved a special spot in my bookcase of oddities. Now in a place of honor, nestled between shed snakeskin and a dried crowfoot curio, my culpability of so many years ago was somewhat lessened. Proudly, I carried my predilection for the unusual into adulthood, but I did refrain from covering the tiny amphibian carcass in resin. It was so tempting to create a frog amulet like the Egyptians that could be worn as a charm to ward off evil. My son, a psychologist, recommended that this was perhaps going too far. I agreed. Although, the other day, I read from the Book of Secrets by Elizabeth P. Archibald that in 1906, a frog believed to be fully and truly deceased by many people was restored by soaking in tepid water for a few hours. I wonder.
Thank you. Yes, I was thinking, if you say no, not dark, that was wonderful. I do have collections like that myself, but I keep them in glass jars. One of them is in crystal. I think it's just wonderful to save some of, our collection, so we'll have to compare. Luann Winkle is our next speaker tonight. She continues to be captivated by ekphrastic poetry, and she is experimenting with traditional poetry in her response to various artistic works. Tonight, in honor of Easter, she will read Sonnet to Compassion, which she wrote, inspired by the painting Compassion that we have been passing around. Everybody saw that, which is a picture of the Joseph of Arimathea lowering Christ's body from the cross. So, welcome, Luann.
Sonnet to Compassion, inspired by William Adolphe Bouguereau's Compassion. What earthly sword drew blood from man divine? Tree-bound, thorn-crowned, beat down while women wept. From heaven above, this one, this son is mine. Old Testament vow, New Testament kept, a bruised, lifeless body cradled in death. An earthly angel bore to cold stone tomb, determination in each step, each breath. Desire to lay our Lord to rest, consumed. 3 days hence, Jesus from death arose, ensuring redemption and salvation. The innocent crucified Christmas rose, worthy of worship and adoration. In whose hands did compassion really lie? The earthly angel or Christ crucified?
This is Barry Dixon. Barry has a combo reading of prose and poetry tonight, and he is in honor of spring, aiming for a spring theme. So let's welcome Barry.
I decided to do a spring theme, so I searched my stuff for spring stuff, and I came up with one micro memoir and 2 poems. I see some new faces out here tonight, so the micro memoir is from my collection called Barry Who? 34 unforgettable micro-memoirs from someone you never heard of. And they all come with a date. They're just incidents from life, unrelated to each other. This one is from spring 1968. And it's called Not So Silent Spring. Campus demonstrations were everywhere. Columbia, Berkeley, Harvard, Wisconsin, Michigan. Somehow, Temple University had remained demonstration-free. So when we heard the hubbub outside our lecture hall window, we were startled. What was going on out there? The professor stopped her political science lecture and walked to the window. That's the permission we were waiting for. Soon the whole class, about 50, was lined along the sill, leaning and stretching to catch the action below. The demonstration seemed divided into two groups, chanting things at each other. On the third floor, we were too high to hear exactly what. Someone between the groups was being spoken to, or was it protected by, campus police. I could see placards, but couldn't read them from above. What did they just yell? Asked one student. Something now, someone said. It's not peace now, someone else said. How many political science lectures include a campus demonstration on the issues of the day? The professor said, smiling proudly. Maybe it has to do with that tearing down the dorms thing, I said. Wait, one classmate asked. Isn't that Jamie? It was indeed Jamie. He was walking through one of the groups toward our building, late for class again. No matter how many dirty looks the professor flashed when he arrived 10 minutes late, he never got the message. Annoying though that was, I got to like the guy. He was funny. Now, Jamie could be the hero. He could tell us what's going on. The two sides, if that's what they were, seemed to drift closer. Philadelphia police began arriving. They stepped between the groups. We watched and listened a couple more minutes, but were still unable to figure it out. Enter Jamie. He looked a little breathless, but otherwise in one piece. Jamie, who are those people? Someone said. Could you tell what's going on? The professor asked. We all seemed to be literally leaning toward him. I saw him look us over. We leaned closer. There are two groups, he said. The group on the left is saying, Certs is a breath mint. The group on the right is saying, Certs is a candy mint. And the guy in the middle is saying, Certs is two mints and one. Temple University actually has Baptist roots, but in the Philly area, all colleges have a strong Quaker influence. So, lucky for Jamie, we decided not to kill him. Here's a poem that actually says, spring comes in and ruins everything. It's called Ode to Snow. It used to be a bicycle. Now it's a Harley. It was a pitchfork. Now a dachshund with 3 tails. See that face over there with the fat lips? My barbecue grill has become Mick Jagger. And when did the Smiths move into a cathedral, their chimney becoming a steeple? Show-offs. Oh, snow, make my little shack a colonial mansion before your weight makes it a pancake. And that lamppost, snow, turn it into a lovely, shapely woman, someone to get me through the long, lonely winter. My heart now as empty as my nest, who listens when I need to share, who whistles at me on windy nights. I will open up to her and love her, even though I know she will leave me in the spring. Thank you. One more. This one appeared this month, thanks to Robin down here, the sort of editor of poetry at Local Life magazine. It's in here. If you got your Local Life, it's in there. And this one kind of says, welcome spring and all the birds returning. And this poem kind of says, that's great because we are basically, as humans, just birds. It's called Birds of a Feather, and I'm going to read it from mine because the old guy who wrote this, me, can't type this small. So, birds of a feather. Tiny sparrows come begging for crumbs from my morning sandwich. What a way to make a living. Yet soon inside, we will light on our chairs, competing for bread, scouring the halls for morsels of approval, tilting our heads at little angles to listen for hints on what to say next, inching toward telling the truth, then flying away at the first sign of danger. Thank you. On that cynical note, I wish you all a very happy spring. Thank you very much.
Our next poet is Denise Spencer, who also writes micro memoirs. These are prose snippets that describe impactful times in her history. She will share 2 of them tonight and hopes the emotions created by her experiences will resonate with you as you look back on the events in your own life. Welcome, Denise Spencer.
Don't usually do these, and they aren't nearly as humorous as Barry's, but we'll give it a go. First one is called The Gift. On a dusty antique store shelf, the label said, Vintage Rubber Boy Doll, mid-1950s, $6. Oh, it can't be, 1,000 miles and almost 70 years away. But it instantaneously took me back. The first remembrance of my grandfather was on my 4th birthday. I climbed up on his lap in his wheelchair, and he read me a story. His arms were wrapped around me, and his voice was as strong as his body was weak. Later, I understood that a stroke had put this talented cabinet maker and World War I veteran in that chair. After the story, he gave me my birthday gift. I cried, disappointed at the rubber boy doll with his painted-on white shirt and blue shorts. There were no clothes to change, or hair comb as his blonde wavy mop was molded into his head. Mother, always teaching, took me aside and told me to say I was sorry because I was being hurtful. Then I felt even worse due to the chastisement and guilt. I did apologize, of course, climbing back on his lap, and while still sniffing, I put my little hands on each side of Grandpa's face. Looking deep into his eyes, I pronounced that I would take good care of the doll, who would be Jack henceforth. The warm hug and sweet smile I received made us both feel so much better. I had 2 other dolls, Betsy and Patty. I know because my bedtime prayer, recited so precisely each night, ended with, and God bless Grandma and Grandpa, Mommy and Daddy, Betsy, Patty, Jack, and everybody. Amen. But it is Jack that I remember most. Life offers many opportunities for regret. The first I recall was breaking Grandpa's heart with my ingratitude, and the second was that I lost him before my 5th birthday. I don't know the journey of the boy doll on the shelf, but he reminded me that learning to appreciate my many blessings and the love of family was perhaps my most significant birthday gift ever. The second one, equally brief, is called The Button Tin. As I opened the time-worn humpback trunk, which had guarded the foot of my bed for decades, My gaze landed on an old, familiar Hills Brothers coffee can. It was the kind you opened with a key, and even the scratches on its red background and on the turbaned man in the yellow robe were engraved in my memory. I no longer cared why I had opened the trunk. The tin drew me close, like a revered friend, and as I carefully removed the lid, the recollections burst forth like fireworks on a warm summer night. It was the button tin. It had originally been my mother's, and yet I felt like it had always been mine. It was, first and foremost, a recycling effort. Buttons were snipped from shirts and blouses, dresses and coats before the worn items were discarded or cut up for quilts or rags. Whenever we made a new outfit, we first went to the tin. Dolls' dresses were made of leftover fabrics and reused buttons. I learned to count, to find matching items, and to sew from the treasures in the tin. I made sock puppets with button eyes and make-believe earrings with little rolls of tape. My grandmother had such a tin, as did my mother, and now me. I suspect I may be part of the last generation finding value in such things. But as I fingered the multicolored fasteners, more memories came flooding back. There were buttons that looked like daisies from a school dress Mother had made for me. There was the one large green button which sat at the neck of a wool sheath, my main special occasion outfit during high school. There were buttons that looked like jewels which had been cut from my mother's 13th birthday party dress. I begged her for them before the frock finally disappeared in the burn barrel. These treasures had become more than buttons, and even more than memories. As I let the colorful discs flow through my fingers, I was reminded of the many amazing people in my life, family, friends, colleagues, who were like those stunning embellishments. They are also very different, but they all have had a role in keeping me buttoned up tight against the harsh elements of life. I've been graced by their beauty, improved by their diversity, excited by their creativity and art, and fortified by their strength and character. As I have begun divesting myself of years of belongings that I no longer need and which my only child will not want, I realize that the button tin will remain with me until I can no longer care for it. It will mean nothing to others, but it is priceless to me.
Those buttons, I am inspired. I have a whole bunch of buttons, and I bet you my granddaughter, she loves playing with them. So maybe it can go back up. You know, it can crawl back up the generation. So I'm inspired to collect those or to put them in a pretty jar for her. Thanks. Joe Sullivan, where are you?
In the back.
Oh, okay. Our new member mostly writes nostalgic life essays about which he hopes are humorous. His workshop colleagues suggested that he read his most recent creation, which is titled The Battle of the Front Porch. So welcome new member Joe Sullivan.
Wonderful people, and I've gotten some excellent writing tips from my workshop colleagues, Denise and Kai, and most importantly, it's motivated me once again, to start writing and writing on a regular basis. The subject that this piece pertains to is weight management. Believe it or not, throughout most of the 80s and 90s, I was twice the man that I am today. But through my wife Nancy's wonderful, healthy gourmet cuisine and a half-assed stab at exercise, I feel like I'm at least breaking even now. Hence, the battle of the front porch. Do you ever find yourself, hello self, cruising down the highway with the summer breeze blowing blissfully through your lack of hair? You're looking good and you're feeling good. You steal a glance at your mug in the rear view and a thought bubble appears overhead. I am one good-looking son of a gun. But then you look straight down and erupt in a silent shriek so as not to alarm your unsuspecting passenger, when the hell did I swallow a beach ball? Your newfound euphoria bursts into a million flecks of fat-filled woe. And so begins another sugar-soaked chapter in the never-ending, milk-curdling, take-no-supplements battle of the front porch. Play 1812 Overture here. Though there have been some infamous feuds throughout the annals of human history, none come close to the heaping pile of losses and gains that punctuate the battle of the front porch. Hatfields and McCoys, child's play. 100 Years' War, small potatoes. Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, a mere bag of shells. The battle of the front porch, epic. And to complicate matters, losses are actually wins, and gains are in fact losses. Hostilities ebb and flow throughout the year. I put relish on my victories, or should I say, I relish my victories, while I stomach the losses, or should I say gains, as measured in pounds and ounces. Needless to say, the bathroom scale is awash in oscillation. I charge into the arena, armed with diet pills, new sneakers, and a will to lose weight. Drenched by the ear-splitting chants of the bloodthirsty crowd, Josephus, Josephus, Josephus. I am Spartacus. I am Hercules. I am Russell Crowe. While up on yonder bluff, behind its menacing ramparts, the enemy digs in, cannons salivating at the prospect of unleashing a lethal assortment of belly-busting temptations upon my spineless taste buds. The battle of the front porch is an eternal rage. I take my lumps along the way, but hey, in the final analysis, I'm just trying to break even. Flag bearers display slogans like, "Don't swallow till there's kale on your fork." War whoopers yell, "Hey Sonny, how about another bonbon?" By sundown, the field is littered in candy wrappers, beer cans, and edamame pods. As defeated smoke clears, wounds are licked, just desserts are savored, and plans for a counteroffensive already formulate. Victories seemingly take forever to discern, while defeats spill out almost immediately. Post-battle assessments typically indicate that triumphs merely tilt the needle left but a fraction, while drubbings pitch it to the right by leaps and bounds. The battle of the front porch is certainly a seasonal tug of war, particularly heightened during the terribly caloric weeks between Halloween and New Year's, promptly followed by a dry and Spartan subsistence during January, usually accompanied by the renewal of a sporadically used gym membership. Austerity, self-discipline, and vigor must prevail during the onset of a fresh 12, especially when facing February's double-barreled barrage of Valentine and Super Bowl goodies. The beady-eyed Easter Bunny lurks just beyond the horizon. Thank God, literally, for Lent. 40 abysmal days and nights, replete with no candy, no beer, and no bread. And good luck with that. Some folks never have to worry about living large, and we hate them. They can house a pizza and never gain an ounce. They can swill frosty lagers till the cows come home and still need to run around the shower to get wet. They can gorge themselves all day long with fructose-infested treats and still slip comfortably into their high school wardrobe. As for the rest of us, while they feast on sweets, we choke down beets. While they guzzle booze, we swig celery juice. While they voraciously devour their towering tub of Tillamook, we sullenly spoon through our sad-eyed saucer of Special K. But hey, no sour grapes here, just tofu, tofu, and more tofu. Hark! I hear the distant drums of another gastrointestinal campaign drawing ever so near. We best buckle up, and please, pass the Wheacher. Thank you.
Island Riders Network. That was terrific, and thank you for participating. You've got the good colleagues there. Okay, now we are going to, Elizabeth is going to read, and she has 2 poems. One she wrote 12 years ago, and one she really intimidates us. She wrote this morning. So let's welcome Elizabeth Robin.
Hi. First, I have an announcement that I have to make because this happens prior to our next meeting. And actually, it's kind of apropos that I'm doing this right now because Bill Newby started this event a long time ago. What year did you start it? 12 years ago? Kickstart.
Kickstart, oh yeah, maybe 12.
Yeah, Kickstart Poetry Month, because you may or may not know this, but April is National Poetry Month. So that's the month that we poets are really busy. And we started with an event at the Hilton Head Branch Library on April 2nd. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. There are going to be 5 poets there who are going to share with you the fun in poetry, starting with some really famous poems that they are selecting themselves that are their favorites, and they'll explain to you why they're so much fun, not the way your English teacher used to do it. And I have a right to do that kind of insulting comment because I was an English teacher for 33 years. Yeah. See what that does to people? They hear that and it just all goes. Oh no, one of those is in the room. Yeah. And I think you'll find it a lot of fun. It's 5 poets that are local, and I hope you come out and enjoy it, and I will bring treats. I will share the treats too. So please do come. That's a week from tomorrow, April 2nd. Everyone is welcome. The main room of the library, 5 to 7. Okay. This one, as Rosemary mentioned, I wrote this morning. You're the first people to see it, other than me and my dog. I've been trying a series of poems. I guess you could say, in a way, they're codes. They are actually describing literal occurrences in nature, so to speak. But each line is also meant to, in some way, address our current socio-political climate, which I have a lot of people telling me I need to shut up. So here's how I'm doing that. Yeah. My daily constitutional. Please leave here for others to enjoy, reads the thick black message scrawled on the backs of 3 cheap orange nylon camp chairs placed to watch gliding kayaks and fishing boats and egrets. Because I rarely meet a soul on this path, the chairs placed so carefully feel an empty kindness, signs someone sometime has visited but doesn't understand the territory. Because I pass this small bluff on my daily walk through the maritime forest that abuts my neighborhood, I feel responsible. I fret at clear signs high tide adjusts the seating. Because I'm an everyday passer, I note small details, the slow decay of a fallen tree, months climbing over blockage, now a spongy bounce underfoot, years into its transmogrification into soil. See also the subtle pockmarks where the slow creep under spring moons floods half the forest. Should I do something? Say anything? Leave a note? Share facts our ghost viewers don't seem to have? What do we owe to those we don't know and never see? I pass a sign at the entry to my morning walk, posted, private property. no trespassing. Who owns the woods? This Broad Creek panorama, these chairs? Because when they're pulled out to the marsh, must I brave the pluff mud and Spartina to pull them out? Or accept what they spoiled? I'm really glad it's raining because it's going to wash this damn pollen out of the air. I've never had trouble with allergies until yesterday. Okay, so I've been working on this poem literally for 12 years. Bill Newby probably will remember it a little from an early critique group. It's always been a work in progress. I never could get it right, and it never fit anywhere. So it just kept going back in the folder, and I keep worrying in it. Well, I'm hoping now I have it right. It's in my new manuscript, which just got picked up. So you'll see a new book in about a year. And it's a book about South Carolina. So this does fit, I think. A bug's example. Much recommends the praying mantis and its Bible Belt posture. Sensible, the palmetto states insect choice. Model of feminine wiles, she suppresses hunger, lures sex-starved males. Cautious, but unable to stop. He fulfills her cravings. She snacks on his head, while his body continues to satisfy. Sexual cannibalism meets all her needs. Inspiring Carolina belles, killed by men at twice the national average.
Oh, thank you. I have not heard that last one before. That was terrific. Do you remember it? Yes. You do remember it? Yes. Okay. All right, well, we are at another point right now that we're going to have a little music. And let me look at the name again. Paul, I got that. I have it written down if I can see it. We'll be here. Paul is from Elliott, Maine. It's just an hour north of Boston. He's been snowbirding for Hilton Head for 5 years with his wife of 40 years. They have one adult daughter who, for some reason, loves to come to Hilton Head a lot. He found the Jammers, the Hilton Head Jammers, who is our music group, at John's Music Shop on New Orleans Road. Have y'all ever been there? Everyone been there? Music store, a real live music store. They play bluegrass jam, which is what he has played back home. He loves playing with the Jammers and is happy to have found this wonderful music community who entertains us every month, and we are happy that you have joined him too, Paul. So let's welcome Paul, his voice, and his mandolin.
Still doing 4?
Yeah, go for it. Maybe it's a, make sure it's here.
Oh. Nothing's holding in place. Light's good. It just needs to be. Don't touch anything. Good. Yeah, thank you. So I believe it was our first reader tonight. That's still on? Nope. That one's on. Sorry. Yeah, we lost the power. There we go. Thank you, thank you. So I believe it was our first reader today who described her readings as kind of dark. I don't think I'm going dark, but the set list that I have tonight I refer to as my hard times song list.
So we've got a few hard time songs that I'm going to play, and then the one I'll save for the end has some hope to it too, so it ends on a higher note. The first song, excuse me. The first song is called "I've Endured," popularized by singer-songwriter Tim O'Brien, originally written by a woman named Ella Bell Reed, something like that. Anyway. Born in the mountain many years ago, I climbed these hills and valleys through all the rain and snow. I've seen the lightning flash and I've heard the thunder roll. I've endured, I've endured. How long must one endure? Barefoot in the summer, on into the fall. So many mouths to feed, they could not clothe us all. Sent to church on Sunday to learn the golden rule. I've endured, I've endured. How long must one endure? Work for the rich, live with the poor. I've seen many heartaches, I'll see many more. I've lived love and sorrow, been through success's door. I've endured, I've endured. How long must one endure? Born in the mountains many years ago, I climbed these hills and valleys through all the rain and snow. I've seen the lightning flash and I've heard the thunder roll. I've endured, I've endured. How long must one endure? I've endured, I've endured. How long must one endure? Thank you. Just trying to figure out my order here. The next one is a song called "Poor Boy, Poor Me." It's from a bluegrass band out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Yeah, it's called "Poor Boy, Poor Me." It's kind of a little tongue-in-cheek about living not with a lot of riches, but feeling quite good about it. As sad as it may seem, I call pennies in between. These cushions a good means of saving dimes. I never claimed that I'd be rich. I never said I would try, but I live well enough to eat, and I'll live long enough to die. So don't sell what you can't keep. Sell it high or sell it cheap, or you'll miss it just the same. Poor boy, poor me. mother's a millionaire now. She spends it in the clouds, so I skip town, hoping somehow to drown it out. And I'm sure someday I'll hit it big as well. Sad enough, only time will tell as to when or what it's all about. So don't sell what you can't keep. Sell it high or sell it cheap. Oh, you'll miss it just the same. Poor boy, poor me. They say the devil will take your soul. They say this world ain't no place to call home. I don't know, I often pay it all no mind. And as sad as it may seem, I call pennies in between. These cushions, a good means of saving dime. I say don't sell what you can't keep. Sell it high or sell it cheap, or you'll miss it just the same. Poor boy, poor me. I say don't sell what you can't keep. Sell it high or sell it cheap, or you'll miss it just the same. Poor boy, poor me. Okay. The next one, I'm going to put you all to work, and you're going to help me out here, I hope. My friends over at the table know how this one's going to go. It's a song called My Oklahoma Home. It's about the story about the Oklahoma Dust Bowls. And the part where I'm hoping you all will help me out is each chorus starts with a phrase that says, you know, I or it or that or whatever is blown away or blowed away. Actually, blowed away is the right way. And every time you hear me say I blowed away, you're going to say blowed away. And if you do it well, it's not going to be quiet. It's going to be like we're going to be loud. So that's the goal anyway. You guys know the drill, right? Yeah, you do. When they opened up the strip, I was young and full of zip. I wanted a place to call my home, and so I made the race, and I staked me out a place. I settled down along the Cimarron. Here we go. It blowed away. It blowed away. My Oklahoma home, it blowed away. If you got any green, if you ain't got any rain, everything except my mortgage blowed away. Well, I planted wheats and oats, got some chickens and some shoats. Needed some ham and eggs to feed my face. Got a mule to pull the plow, got an old red muley cow. I got a fancy mortgage on this place. It blowed away. It blowed away. It blowed away. It blowed away. My Oklahoma home, it blowed away. It blowed away. Can't grow any grain if you ain't got any rain. Everything except my mortgage blowed away. Blowed away. Well, it looked so green and fair when I built my shanty there. I figured I was all set for life, so I put on my Sunday best in my fancy scallop vest. I went in town to pick me out a wife, but she blowed away. She blowed away. My Oklahoma woman blowed away. And I was left alone, just listening to the moan, the wind around the corner of my shack. So I took off down the road when the south wind blowed. I traveled with the wind upon my back. I blowed away, I blowed away, chasing that dust cloud up ahead. You can't grow any grain if you ain't got any rain. Oklahoma, home and blow away. Well, I'm never far from home, yeah, no matter where I roam. For Oklahoma dust is everywhere. Makes no difference where I'm walking, I can hear my chickens squawking. I can hear my wife talking in the air. It blowed away, it blowed away. My Oklahoma home, it blowed away. My homester's always near, it's up in the atmosphere. My Oklahoma home, it blowed away. Yeah, my Oklahoma home, it blowed away. Earl. All right. All the hard times are over now, so we get on to something a little hopeful. I kind of have this reputation back home when I do jams. Like, I seem to pick all these depressing songs. People tend to joke about it. But, so here's a little happier one for us. Someday we'll roll away the stone we have carried for so long. All our burdens will be gone. I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of our views. No prayer shall be refused. I can't wait. Seems we have gone too far. Now we don't know where we are. I believe we'll find a guiding star. I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of our views. No prayer shall be refused. I can't wait. Someday we'll roll away the stone that we have carried for so long, and all our burdens will be gone. I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of our views. No prayer shall be refused. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you all very much.
Island Riders at Open Mic. You come again. Give another hand. Well, our special guest tonight, we all know who that is. It's Bill Newby. Many of us know Bill Newby from a long time ago. A poet extraordinaire, but mediocre golfer who suddenly uprooted several years ago with his wife Barbara back to the cold, dreary winters of Cleveland, Ohio. Bill calls himself an everyday writer that uses poetry and fiction to record and explore moments of celebration, complaint, concern, and comedy and alliteration. I once took a class from Bill, and then he said he writes an hour every day, whether it's good or not. Lots of times it turns out good, it sure does. Sometimes that is sheer commitment, and it sure works for him because he puts out some great poems. Poems with titles like Dribble, Drive and Shoot, Sending a Kiss from third base, Sending a Kiss from third base, Passing Through First Class, are sure to tickle your interest. Please welcome Bill Newby from Cleveland, Ohio, with some of his everyday poems, which are far more than every day.
Ooh. So first thing I want to do is I want to say how grateful I am for the existence of Island Writers Network. When I came to the island back in, closer to the mic, my wife says. When we came to Hilton Head, it was 2014, and I had written, periodically since I was 16 years old. But I didn't take my writing seriously. It just was something that I did, and occasionally it would be fun. But the Island Writers Network was a place where I received the encouragement and the stimulation of other writers. And that was critical for my growth as a writer. And a year after I joined Island Writers Network, it was time that the organization decided time for a new anthology. And so they had done 3 before, if I remember correctly. And I have this flaw in my personality. People will ask a question and I raise my hand. And often what happens in this particular case is we're at a meeting and the question was raised, is there anybody interested in designing the book? And I thought, I could probably do that. So I raised my hand. And if I hadn't done that, it's very unlikely that I would have ever produced the following 3 books of my own. But I had the learning experience of producing the anthology, and that was absolutely critical in my growth. So thank you for being a member of Island Writers Network, and know that your presence is critical for other coming writers. So tonight, I'd like to share a series of poems. I mostly want to talk about sports, travel, and writing. But before I do that, I'm going to share the shortest poem I've ever written. What's wrong, Barb? I need to speak louder? Can you guys hear me, or do you want more? So this is 12 words. This is a poem about neighbors. The title of this poem is Hot July, Cold December. There's 4. Hot July, cold December. You ready? I stopped their fireworks. They stopped their hellos. Think about it. So dangerous thing. So now I'm going to read a poem for you. The title of the poem is Sending a Kiss from Third. Sending a Kiss from Third. And this is because tomorrow is the opening of baseball season. Sending a Kiss from Third. Every infield is different. The ground may be as smooth as tarmac or as loose as a hiking trail, groomed like the Masters or as shaggy and snarled as the Turner's tree lawn. But the only way to play is with hope for a true bounce and a prayer to snatch a lyre. The game is slow, with lots of room to itch and scratch, spit and stare, but the window for strolling and shifting shuts when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand. Then it's time for low, ready balance, each foot dug in, hugging the earth, and arms long and loose before bent knees, like willow branches near the ground. But as low as you get, your head must be up, as if you've crept close in a tiger crouch with your muscles loaded and ready to pounce. And in these key moments, the world must disappear. For the only stories at the plate where you need to read the back and arms unwinding torque as the bat flows in a wide circle and greets the ball with a crack or ping that darts like a bullet aimed at your head, or skitters like some skipping water, like a stone skipping water, seeking a pebble or divot that might shift its course. This is what you've trained for, and why you've oiled your glove, pounded a predictable pocket, and even taken dance lessons. In this instant, the only time is now. Now you must welcome its flight, delight in its arrival, and reach wide or close, low or high, to draw it into your mitt, embrace it with your free fingers, and hug and grasp it as you slide toward first, skating left while loading right, loading your arm like a jitterbug backstep before pulling your partner into another twirl, gripping the ball like a doorknob before flinging it wide open. Then whip your arm free and relaxed, free and flowing across your body as you turn around your spine and look at the first baseman's mitt, like a lover's face arced up and begging for a kiss as you let the ball go. How many people in the room play golf? All right, well, the rest of you are going to have to imagine this, and those of you that raise your hand, I pity you. This is called hole-in-one club. Hole-in-one club. Every other week, someone else's name graces the pro shop's door. And we're invited to get our free drink over the next 2 weeks, a chance to join the celebration and schmooze with the current star who's been given license to strut and gloat. Joy comes to some of us in more modest attire, like finding the fairway or landing near the green. So we practice and practice, place another and another ball on the ground or tee, while muttering mantras like, stay in the swing, and swirl, and swing by swing, we try to chisel a groove into our hands and arms, torso and thighs, a groove we hope to easily revisit, like the way our fingers tie a shoelace and our hands draw a razor across our cheek. But for many of us, our bodies are forgetful. And like traveling without directions, we amble from stop sign to stop sign, making stab after stab, hoping for the best. So in those rare moments when anyone hits from the tee box and drops that 2-inch ball into that 4-inch hole, it feels as miraculous as water changing into wine, or at least a beer or mixed drink at the bar. There was a very famous poem by Wallace Stevens, I think it was called 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. This is a poem I wrote when probably in my 30s. It's called 13 Views of Racquetball. I'm not going to read all 13, but I'm going to give you a sampling. And like, for example, the first one is, first way of looking at racquetball. Diet Pepsi? No thanks, regular. You've got to think about that. That's a form of exercise. You don't need Diet Pepsi if you're playing racquetball all the time. You're working it off. So, here's some more. Athletic Rorschach. Assertive or passive? Straightforward or crafty? Brawn or brains? Ah, yes, this type again. Excuse me. 1 ball, 2 players, 6 walls, 2 lines, 7 shots. Infinite permutations in a finite world. Being the pin within the pinball, working the flippers, watching the game within the game, flashing scorecards within your head, kicking in another ball before the quarter runs out. I should have said at the beginning, those of you who don't know what racquetball is, it's a game with a ball, small rackets, and you're in a room. So you have the ceiling, the floor, and 4 walls. And what you need to do is you need to get the ball that's been hit by your opponent before it hits the floor a second time. And once you get to that ball, you need to hit it back to the front wall before it touches the floor. So it's all mechanics in a box. Number 13, momentary immortality, will denying age, sprinting to obscure the slowing clock. We're currently in March Madness, and I have a poem that's a bit long, but I'm going to read it to you. It won't take that long. This is called Dribble, Drive, and Shoot. Like an eager lover, the ball returns to your hand, where you can caress it with your fingertips and lavish in its familiar curvature, like the swell of a crystal goblet, while swirling a fine Bordeaux. And the ball's quick kiss comes through your wrist and forearm that welcome it like Aunt Grace's embrace after she passes the security gate and throws her arms wide as she runs to you after her European summer. Then the ball's dissipating climb spring-loads the travel agent in your bicep that's been monitoring all the best deals. And in the next instant, it issues a ticket to a flight across court, a cruise toward the rim, or a quick drive through the canyon of bigs. Like a Michener opus, it's a game of generations. From the wobbly plastic hoop that shattered the gold glass globe dangling near the bottom Christmas tree's branch, to the lowered elementary school baskets that begged for a quick toss on our way back to class when kickball hadn't fully exhausted us. And to the summer camp's uneven, dusty dirt court where the ball would carom off roots and stones, and we'd dash into the nearby brush, not stopping to survey for poison oak or brambles before the ball reached the drop-off to the lake. Then came the dark brown plywood backboard we'd painted to match our outdoor trim, soon followed by an afternoon installing plexiglass garage windows. The rough weekend jazz of our shoes scuffing the driveway was eventually replaced by a soprano chorus of rubber-on-varnish squeaks echoing off the fieldhouse rafters during practices where coach would shoot a pass to your head if you took your eye off the ball. Then toting handed-down home-wash uniforms, we took quiet bus rides to cold, cramped locker rooms and ranks of shouting faces 1 yard from the sideline, where we sometimes jumped and laughed at the buzzer, but often retreated to a shower and a longer ride home. Today, remote in hand, I sit on the couch eating my daily caramel pretzel Klondike, or on a rare night out, empty-handed after our waitress has just warned me to be careful because the plate with my favorite spaghetti pie is oven hot. I just monitor the screen on the far wall beyond the booth. And as I watch and overhear the commentary, I both see and feel the game. My body leans into a drive. My shoulders square to the basket. And I feel the tiniest spring in my toes, as if I were on the court and rising up with a ball above my head, where it's nestled like a dove in my palm just before I let it fly in a smooth, rim-bound arc with even backspin and dreams of another score. So, thank you guys, are very kind. You don't need to applaud like that because I'm on the clock and I gotta get done, you know. No big deal. So, travel. First poem, leaving home. We travel in anxiety and return in comfort. We pack clothes and meds for all occasions and drag our insecurities through airports and train stations, up escalators and over cobblestones and gravel, in search of the other, as long as it doesn't infect and rush us to the nearest toilet or drugstore, where we can't read the packages or talk our way to certainty. Foreign comes in a colorful wrapper. We want to see and touch, but are often afraid to swallow. So, Barbara and I at one point, we went to Cambodia and we visited Angkor Wat. It's a religious complex that was constructed in the 12th century. It's considered the largest religious monument on earth. It covers approximately 402 acres. It's huge. And not only did they build the temple, but they built this square moat that goes around it. And I don't know the length of the moat, but it's probably 5 miles long or 10 miles long. I mean, it's just absolutely huge. Barbara? Louder?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So this is called touring. We step off the bus, lugging the 10 Commandments and the accumulated weight of Western civilization's struggle with brotherly love, tucked in our backpack, next to another plastic bottle of cool, filtered spring water. Our REI and Merrill boots provide arch support for our modern egos and protect our feet from the dust and stones and debris still lingering from Pol Pot's house cleaning. Far beyond the moat, backlit against the skyline of harsh mid-morning glare, lies the silent silhouette of Angkor Wat. Small, black, symmetrical lotus bulbs cut free from the jungle to provide power for a tourist economy annually outpacing last year's records. Shaven, saffron-draped Buddhist monks move wordlessly in the shadow of a neighboring pagoda, while we make electronic records of ornate stupas. Then pause at the southern edge entrance for a group photo before joining the flow of sweltering gawkers walking the surrounding corridors, where thousands of patient artisans chiseled stone reminders of the painful damnation born of infidelity. The actors wear different masks: snakes, dragons, phoenixes and turtles, farmers, fishermen, servants, and soldiers. But the plot is as common as yesterday's New York Times. Our shirts cling and sweat oozes across our cheeks, but our air-conditioned bus is nearby and we can wash before lunch. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge, which was like an agrarian communist regime. And between 1975 and 1979, he was in charge of Cambodia. And one of the things that he did, which was very interesting to learn, is he told all of the residents of Phnom Penh that he was there with his army, if you will, to protect them because the United States had planned to bomb Phnom Penh that night. And he said to them, bring as much as you can carry for 3 days. And the people in Phnom Penh followed his advice, packed small bags, and walked out of the city. And he didn't let them return for 6 years. In the meantime, he murdered every teacher, priest, politician, scientist, and anyone else with intellect that he could. And everybody that had left the city was forced to become part of an agrarian economy where they, farmed. I visited a schoolhouse where people came and were held in prison. And this poem was called Cosmetics. And there's a Khmer Rouge motto that accompanies this poem, which is, rice fields are books, hoes are pencils. Rice fields are books, hoes are pencils. The doorway to the purge opened with disguise. Crowds lined the streets, cheered and danced, welcoming their liberators who had come to protect them. It's an age-old story. A Trojan horse with a viperous belly, smallpox blankets for the natives, Big Macs that weaken our knees. And as Odysseus learned, returning home can take years of challenge, especially when all priests and teachers, scientists and civil servants have been eliminated. The lock-on tower opens slowly, 12 steps, 12 years that feel like 12 generations. But at last it's time to get wholesome hands back on the wheel, build roads and bridges, paint and post signs, and pick paths of better purpose, without forgetting history's warnings along the way. How many people in the room, by show of hands, have flown in economy class? Okay, that's all right, that's good. Well then, you're prepared for the next poem, which is titled, Passing Through First Class. Passing through first class. After the parents with children, those needing extra time, and active or former military who we thank for their service, first class flyers are welcomed aboard. The rest of us line up at stanchions labeled according to the legroom and width of the seat we can afford, and how likely we will be to find open overhead storage when we arrive at our seat. It's not a biblical process. For flights to Atlanta, Newark, Houston, and LA, the first are first, and the last are last. And the next several moments feel weird, as if entering a hotel through a penthouse where royalty are watching cricket and sipping afternoon tea. Most first-classers ignore the arduous drama of commoners hauling their backpacks, purses, and roller bags, snacks, sandwiches, and neck pillows and presents. Most preoccupy themselves reading a crisp newspaper or laptop mail and sipping a fresh cocktail like they might do shielded behind a limo's smoked glass on the way to an appointment, lunch, or play. Their downcast eyes seem self-protective, like not touching a restroom handle, as if our presence might infect or erode their hard-won position. But there's almost always one, enjoying the luxuries of high places, yet perhaps still connected to us all. She looks up, eye to eye, nods or smiles a quiet welcome, and it is comforting to know that beyond the mesh, stay-out curtain, in the corridors of power, linen napkins, fresh fruit and wine, there may be a big-hearted ally who will help us all board the raft if we suffer a water landing. Now, I appreciate your attention, and I want to share a few secrets. Maybe you can use some of these with future members of Island Writers Network. I want to share a few poems about writing. And the first one, believe it or not, you need this, is how to hold a pencil. First, keep it close. Like in your car's console, in your excuse me, in your pocket, or on a nightstand where you can reach it without having to search or wait. Pick it up with gratitude for the word or phrase you have in mind and curiosity about what will come. Your body should be relaxed, your posture comfortable, where you can take full breaths and let them out smooth as cream. Place your fingers on its shaft as if measuring its pulse, the way a fisherman holds a rod to feel the tug of what is hidden and guess if he's in an abundant place or needs to cast elsewhere. Let each word flow from its tip, letter by letter, syllable by syllable, as you record your inner voice after the next and next possibility. And as the phrases arrive, use your pencil like an oar, guiding it in and around snags and deadfalls, through chutes between boulders, over the bubbles of rushes, and into and across pools of calm. When you think you may be done, pause and wait, sliding your fingers along its smooth, clean length, like gauging the weight of a favorite jewel, and seeing what sparkles are left before you decide to set it down and turn the spigot off. Now, I've written about many things. Some things I rarely write about it or don't at all. This is a poem called Closed. Closed. My pen likes to wander by classrooms and stores, up church aisles and garden paths, through bedrooms and meals, into caves and storms and moonless nights. It's taken me down many dark alleys, into hidden corners of adolescence, indecision, disgust, and doubt. And sometimes I've escaped with humor, or found a freshly powered flashlight that helped me climb stairwells to new understandings. But some doors remain firmly closed. And even if I can peek through the keyhole, I'm hesitant to pick the lock. raise the shades, and schedule an open house. Some stories are beyond the razor wire and should stay there. All right, I'm going to share you another secret about writing. You'll see. This is called writing tools. Stolen pens write best. Stolen pens write best, like those lifted from a maid's cart or not returned to a desk clerk. They feel alive, ready for risk, unafraid to shit on the page. They travel in my passenger seat, refuse to wear seatbelts, dare me ignore stop signs, encourage racing from impulse to ink, no thought for crossing traffic or innocence in church or school zones. My mother used to preach, bad tasting medicines are better, as if disgust has the power to unclog the arteries of a full life. I'm doing my part. If needed, please send bail. You're too generous, folks. You're too generous. One of the things that Barb and I did to meet people in Hilton Head is we went to the Unitarian congregation of the Low Country, which is in Bluffton. And while there, we met another. I mean, it was as important for us, I think, as it was for me to be in Island Writers Network. It was another crowd, it was a different topic, but it was a very welcoming crowd, and it was a very stimulating and growthful place for us. While there was a gentleman named Jim Lampke who made stained glass pieces that hung in the windows. And he then, one day, after the service, he gave a workshop on how to do stained glass. So Jim Lampke, stained glass. This is about what he taught. Lampke's stained glass. He said that there are patterns everywhere, in books, museums, shops, and cathedrals. So there's no need for originality, just a lifetime's collection of tools, glass, copper, foil, flux, and solder. Yes, you do need a plan, some design placed on two templates, one intact and the other in pieces, like your vision of a satisfying life and the fragments of dinners and conversations, jobs, friendships, travels, and pastimes that might eventually complete the puzzle. But success demands surrender, giving in to accidents, to the reality of never being in full control. For as carefully as you score and then tamp a pain, like life, it can fracture in unexpected places that demand a fresh approach to beauty. In the end, everything is built with patience, leftover pieces, and nicks and cuts along the way. And though labeled stained, it's not about flaws blemishing purity. The goal is to find an inspiring light and let it shine through. Okay, I have one more piece that I have decided to share that's off color, but I think it's very entertaining. And I'll ask Denny, should I share it? Do you know it? Should I share it? Yeah? So this is a poem I wrote about, roughly, I don't know for sure, maybe 15 years ago. And I found it like a month ago, and I thought, that's yours? And I read it and I said, well, that's not bad. And then I decided, okay, I'll own it. So it's mine. Okay, Denise, shall I read it? I read it to you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the poem is titled, this is the last poem, is titled, Dearly Beloved. Okay? Here we go. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to bless this couple's guilt-free fucking as often as they wish and are able, and to enjoy spousal health insurance coverage as long as one of them stays employed and receives good benefits, for which he has to promise to wash the dishes daily and not complain, but listen patiently to her retelling of each insult and annoyance suffered on her way to work and at the supermarket. And to make this an even deal, she must agree to continue to shave her legs and to never throw out the sports pages before he's read them. And if their fucking should be productive, we pledge to keep our child-rearing judgments to ourselves and to plan occasional sleepovers so those kids and their parents can enjoy a few annual moments away from each other's nagging. And finally, if anyone knows why these two should not be joined together, now is the time to stuff it and keep it stuffed till after the divorce, because it's impolite to interfere in other people's business, and we all want to enjoy the reception. Thank you for the kindness of your attention, seriously, and giving me the opportunity to share. I mean, it's really a pleasure. I wish you all the best.
Here, how long are y'all staying?
We're here 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Well, that should put an end to it for tonight. Well, I have a little story. I went into a restaurant about a week ago, and over at Plantation Deli, the Mid-Island, and there was a man with his family. It looked like about five people, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you like to read fiction?" And I said, "Well, I'm more of a biographer, and I like nonfiction." And he goes, "Well, I write fiction, and I've been looking for somebody for April, and I couldn't find someone." Turns out his name is David McDonald. He has written 18 books. And I said, "Oh, would you come and talk next month?" So next month, David McDonald, who lives on Hilton Head, I don't know if you know him or not, will be our guest, our special guest. So that will be next April 29th, I believe, right? Last Wednesday, April 29th. And so we'll see you then.